Thanks for joining the podcast, Seth.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so imagine there's a decent chunk of people, some will, some won't, that are like, who is this guy? And you've been here for a while.
December will be 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So give us a little background. Well, first of all, who are you to Church on the Move? What do you do?
I get the privilege of being the pastor or senior pastor at Church on the Move West.
Yes, you are, and doing a great job. It's a really beautiful community out there. It really is. And if you haven't had a chance to go visit on a weekend and just experience it is its own community, and it's a really great, it's awesome. Yeah. But give us a little background, just share a little of your story, maybe, so people kind of get to know you a little bit. I don't know where you want. You could start at birth if you want to. Or...
Well, there's a lot of ground to cover there. Adopted from birth, whole God story there, but grew up in Atoka, Oklahoma, just a little town, southeastern Oklahoma, a couple hours. I tell people, if you've gone to Dallas, you've gone through it.
Yeah, you've driven through it.
And it's possible you've gotten a ticket there.
There's a giant Love's over on the right-hand side. Yeah.
We've got a Quick Trip now.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, Quick Trip and a Starbucks. But I think the Starbucks is closing. I don't think it made it.
Oh, man.
Sad times. But great community, small town. Grew up in church, godly parents. Got into ministry young, in my early 20s. And it's been a journey ever since. And so been in I think this is fourth church I've been a part of. So I've not done the church hopping thing. I mean, I've been planted in places. 2 of those churches no longer exist because of broken leadership or, some so rough times, but a lot of good times as well to help me become the pastor I am today.
Tell us a little bit about your family as well.
Okay. Kim and I just celebrated our 23rd anniversary.
Come on.
So it's been a good journey. We got 5 girls.
Yeah.
They're all doing well and healthy. And so Caitlin's about to graduate college at OU.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
Hey, you got a Sooner in your family, and for you, that's a big deal, man.
That's a big deal.
Now you can claim like I'm officially one of the.
I'm officially part of the. Yeah, she still holds on a little bit. I don't know how, but. She grew up a Longhorn fan.
What?
I don't know how that happened. But she ended up at OU, so I keep telling her, it's there.
Ironically, I feel like that's kind of, it's both you and not you, right? Because you're a diehard Sooner fan. But also, you're a contrarian a little bit. You like to go your own way, and the fact that your oldest daughter is just like, you know what, Dad, I'm a Longhorn fan. Yeah. It's like. That's God's sense of humor.
I remember the day, there was some school day where they were like, wear your favorite, shirt. And of course, she had her mom make a Longhorn shirt. And I was like, every one of your friends are a Sooners fan. They're going to make fun of you. And she's like, I don't care. This is me. It's like, I don't like that you're a Longhorn, but I like that.
This is your daughter. I mean, that's definitely your daughter.
She's definitely a chip off the old block. Yeah.
So, we met because, I was invited to speak at a church, the church you were part of down in Atoka, Durant area. Yep. There's a thriving church down there. Victory Life, yeah. And just good people. And I got to go down there a couple of times and be a part of kind of a big, I don't know, what'd you guys call it? Like camp meeting conference? What'd you call it?
Annual conference. Okay. They call it Jubilee. A week that's set aside for gratitude and kind of looking back at what God's done, saying thank you, and looking ahead to what God's doing in the future. And always a really powerful time.
It was. It was really wonderful to be a part of it. I would go down there and it was in this like rodeo arena,
kind of casino
it's the casino. The Durant Casino is next door, and so I'm staying in the casino. It was really bizarre. Never done that before, but just the spirit of the whole thing was so cool, and just loved the church and what they were doing, and you were a part of all of that, and so we knew each other from that, and then when we started looking at, all right, we need a senior pastor for this. At the time, it was Church on the Move South. It wasn't West.
Yeah, down in Glenpool, yeah.
And we started, Lord was leading you out of that church, step in as a senior pastor, and you kind of saw our opportunity or whatever. We started talking, and one thing led to another, and You became the pastor of, never was the pastor of South. You were always the pastor of COTM West, because by the time you stepped in, we were in kind of like process.
The week we started was the first week we had a conversation with the elders at Solace.
Oh, wow.
Brian had some previous conversations with some staff members. And I remember that first meeting, you're like, yeah, we've got this merger potential, and okay, I'm paying attention. And you didn't know, it never came up in the interviews, that my background had been in kind of church adoptions and mergers, and never anything on this scale. But it was just another very blinking green light of God's in this. He knows what he's doing.
Well, and that's and you know, we thought of it as like an adoption, and that it really fit with your story and your gifting, and that's what we've seen out there. The cool thing is it really has been a blend of people that were part of the original Solace Church and people that were part of the original COTM South Church that are now one new community, which is a really kind of Ephesians 2 pretty cool thing that God's done out there. So, okay, background out of the way. This weekend we talked about words. I found this, first of all, let's just kind of start from kind of just looking at James as a whole. This has been one of the most convicting, personally challenging books of the Bible. I've read it before, teaching through it slowly. It has impacted me in a pretty significant way. What's it been like for you?
It's been the same.
Okay.
You're starting to see, in the background, I've preached a lot of these verses.
Yes.
But it's different preaching them in the context of each other.
Interesting, yeah.
It's like I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, you can't really understand the part without the whole.
Yeah.
And so it's been very intriguing to see the threads and the themes and the highlights. Words are constantly through there. It's one of those things, I think when you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
But the constant theme from even the Sermon on the Mount into James of what's in you is going to come out of you. It's just, I see it over and over. So I'm trying not to be repetitive in that when I'm preaching.
But James is writing thematically here like we would write, I mean, like a good writer writes. There are themes woven through, and there's certainly that with James. One of the themes that stood out to me that maybe we'll get into today is this idea of trying to divide, or James warning us not to attempt to divide what can't be divided or what should not be divided. I think that's what he's talking about with the fresh water and salt water attempting to come out of the same opening, is you're trying to bring two things together that can't really be together. You're trying to divide your heart in ways that shouldn't be divided. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, so tell me, like, where did you start your sermon off this weekend? How did you get there?
I actually kind of went back to James 1.
Okay.
I just said what he's teaching in James 3 is with a background, with a foundation that he's established in James
119 and 126.
Yeah, I didn't really hit 26, but I hit 119. Just be slow to speak.
Yes.
And really asking the question, why? Because when we covered that a few weeks ago, my push was, this isn't just practical advice. This isn't just he's pausing other conversations, saying, let me give you some great marriage advice of how you should just slow down and be slow. But I came back this week and said, I think there is wisdom in looking at it practically and looking at the practical application. And just slow down and check your motives. Why do you feel the need to say this? What's really motivating you? Because we get really passionate. We're in a volatile society where people are just throwing words. And
quickly.
And people don't stop and think, why do I feel the need to say this?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's a broken motive. I'm insecure, I'm arrogant, I'm prideful.
Yes.
And it's not really a pure motive of love or care. But I really want to say this to you. And I think, we teach this to different pastors and staff members. Before you step into a meeting and just vomit on someone, stop and check your motives. What are you trying to accomplish? What's the purpose in saying this?
And is it love? Honestly, am I really trying to love you, or do I just want to tell you what I want to say? The thing that stood out to me and kind of where I started was this. Now, the first point was your words are more primary than you think they are, and the thing that really, probably the most aha thing for me in this passage was how, to what degree James is elevating your words, specifically controlling your tongue. It took me quite a while to really grasp what is right there on the surface, what he says, which is basically, if you can control your tongue, you can control your whole body. Well, on Tuesday, like when we started thinking about this, that was the question I was asking. Like, what does he mean by your whole body? And the idea is your whole life. Like your words, if you can but I still didn't quite understand it. So he goes on to liken it to a bridle in a horse's mouth, or a bit in a horse's mouth, and a rudder on a ship. And the contrast in both of those cases is this small thing is controlling this big thing. And so initially it was kind of, I was leaning into this sort of idea that like your words set the direction for your life. I mean, I'm not going to tell you like there's no truth in that, but I don't get the sense that's what James is meaning, is that your words are like setting, like charting a course for your life, but rather he seems to be saying, if you can get control of your tongue, then you can control your whole body. He's likening the part, the member, the bodily member, the tongue, to the rest of your body. I mean, they think in different ways, in the ancient world, of like the parts of the body and the way that they relate to the different actions that we have, or that we engage in. And I think what he's like when Jesus said, if your eye causes you to sin, or your hand, cut it off, right? Gouge your eye out. Do you really think, let's think about it through a modern lens, like, do you think that my eye, my actual literal physical eye, is what's causing me to sin, or my actual literal hand is what's causing me to sin? He's framing it around sin being rooted in parts of the body, though we know that your mind and heart and spirit are behind all of this. Like these are right. So, and I think James is saying a similar thing with your tongue. He doesn't mean your literal tongue is and the rest of your body will follow, in so much as he's saying, if you can control this, well, then all the other parts of you could bring under the lordship of Jesus as well. Now the really question I asked was this. If someone was to come to you, Seth, and say, I'm a new believer, or I've been stuck in my faith, and I really want to grow this year, what should I do? How would you answer them? And I thought about how I would answer them, and I would probably say, read your Bible. Definitely pray. Be a part of a church. Serve. Like all the things. I'm for all of that stuff. I'm not trying to discount any of that. But it occurred to me that I probably would never think to mention this thing that James is saying is like the steering wheel of your whole life is watch your words, get your tongue under control. And yet that's where he begins. And that really convicted me, because I guess it took it for me from feeling like I should really probably try to, be smarter with my words to, do you realize how imperative, how much this matters? Yeah.
I think the reason it matters is because words are what form people. Yeah. I mean, as parents, we form our kids with our words.
Yeah.
The power of life and death is in the tongue. Yes. And so you can speak life. It's one of the phrases I use this weekend, is the words that have been used to form me become the words I use to form others. It's that parent that snaps at their kid, and it's like, you said the same thing your parents said to you, and they've shaped you in a way that you think. They've shaped you in what you believe. Our culture is a culture of words, and that's what's used to.
Well, we're. I mean, I think it's not even. It's even broader than culture. It's in our ontology. It's how we're made. We are. It's language is what sets us apart from animals, is that we have words that we can use. And to me, I mean, you want to relate this over to Jesus, the Word made flesh, God's nature disclosed in His Word. All of this speaks to God's nature, our nature, being made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, there's something really powerful about our capacity for words. So yeah, and that was your kind of, which ended up being my second point, but I think it applies here is it's the why behind, but the principle is if you can't control this, then don't expect to get control of
everything else.
I think I'm curious what you think about this, but like when I read James 1:26 this weekend, if any man thinks he is religious, you tell me you're a believer, but does not bridle his tongue and deceives his heart, that man's religion is worthless. Wow, like, so what I said was like, so all of that Bible reading and all of that church attendance and all of that prayer counts for very little, or maybe said another way, isn't going to produce too much. In other words, it's possible to have all of that in place, but not really see or experience much of the life of God if this isn't bridled.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all seen or encountered people that are, I mean, I guess you'd call them a fake Christian. They do all the things, but when it comes down to it, they really don't reflect the character of Christ. They've done the checklist and they've done the things, but they're the meanest people.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear the phrase, sometimes church people are the meanest people, and I've experienced that. They're also the best people, the other ones that actually believe and actually live this, and their religion is real. But yeah, just because you're an attender or showing up to the things or doing the Bible studies doesn't, there's some kind of like, if I'm not allowing that to really get in me and change me, that's a dead religion, a dead faith.
And in these like super practical ways, like with your words, I found this to be one of the most convicting passages I've ever read and had to preach, because I've been aware of my words this last week in ways that I have not been really before. I've caught myself and found, so what James says in 3:2 is, if any man, what is it? If any man, we all sin in various ways.
Yeah, we all stumble.
But if you don't sin with your tongue, I forget exactly the wording that he uses.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I used a paraphrase this weekend.
Which one? Phillips?
Dr. Vlachos.
Oh, you used Vlachos. Nice. Okay.
I used Dr. V's. It was good, and I thought it was appropriate and just well said.
That's awesome.
And, it was good. So, yeah, I think, and I put a couple of additional phrases like we stumble. I think one of the translations I read says we all stumble.
Yeah.
We all fall.
I think that might have been the J.B. Phillips translation, which is what I used as well. I read it from the ESV. And then, the idea is that if you don't, if someone can bridle their tongue, get it under control, that man is perfect.
Yeah.
It's
which would mean you would have a perfect outcome in your relationships. You'd have a perfect, outcome in your parenting. You'd have a perfect outcome, and because all of those, if you can control this and continually determined to speak life in situations and not react out of frustration or anger or out of our brokenness, I could. That's good. Sorry, my head's spinning.
No, it's good. There's so much here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so your first thought was what for this weekend?
Words have power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just don't understand how much power they have. And going back to the words that we hear, the words that are spoken to us by our family, by our community, by our culture, those are all intended. I think that's why James starts in 1 with be quick to listen. But I think there's this undercurrent of warning, be careful what you listen to, because what you listen to and take in has that ability to form you and thoughts and beliefs and all of that from...
Well, I mean, that's not implied, it's explicitly stated in receive with meekness the implanted word of God. The other principle is be a hearer and a doer. He doesn't say be a doer, forget the hearing.
No.
No, hear first.
You can't do if you haven't heard.
Do. Correct.
Yeah.
So the idea is both of these things. So he's certainly be quick to listen. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Be quick to listen to what? Receive with meekness the
because
implanted
remember,
word
he's
of God.
speaking to a dispersed church that's in different cultures, that's not in this safe bubble of the Jerusalem church.
So this is a really good point. Let's talk about this because I didn't get into it at all, and I like that you did. So you're talking about what you're receiving. So the control of the tongue, really all I did was just beat people over the head with control your tongue. Which is what I like to do.
Yeah.
Because I took the passage really literally. Like, let's just hit this really hard. But you're bringing in another dimension to this that I think is super helpful, and that's why we have this podcast. Tell me more. So let's flesh this out a little bit more. So the process that you're describing is, look, if you want this to be, and I'm pointing for those listening, I'm pointing in my mouth. If you want your words to be speaking life, if we're thinking Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. I want life to be coming out of my mouth. I want whatever Ephesians 4:29, I think it is, it talks about let the words fitting the occasion, building up. If I want that to be the case, that's only going to happen if I am first hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can go to one of the passages I went to. I think it's Ephesians 4:15. As believers, he gets to this place where we speak truth in love. But that one, and as a result, we grow more and more into the likeness of Christ. But it's couched in this context of a church community. Don't be drunk with wine, be filled with the Spirit. So be filled.
Yeah.
And
then speak and sing.
Speak and sing, and you're talking to each other, you're encouraging each other. And I think in that, because he goes to a place where we grow from immaturity, being tossed around by every wind of doctrine, words. So we're pushed and we're shoved by conspiracies or lies from culture or lies from our family. But in the context of the church community, we're speaking truth, the truth of Christ, the truth of what he's done, the truth that we're sinners, the truth that we're loved, the truth that we're forgiven. And in that, now we're becoming something transformed, different. And because we're being transformed into something different, we speak something different.
Well, and I think, I think really practically here, it is part of what it's interesting because when we're talking about controlling the tongue, and I was talking about what would I tell somebody to do who was, read your Bible, is still a it's still a really valid starting point then, because what it means is that I'm taking this in, being formed and shaped by it. Now that's going to change the output.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking about controlling the tongue, it's really helpful to know that it's not just going to be you going, don't say that, don't let that out. You'll fail at that pretty quickly.
Because you will react instinctively out of anger and moments. And again, what's in you will come out of you. Pay attention to those moments.
So you have to start being shaped by it and hearing a new word so that you can speak a different word. This is what I was just telling my son about this, who's in Arizona, Elliot. We were talking about this, and I was just talking to him about resisting temptation and how we do that, and I was just talking about how I'm using these verses that I'm, the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. I've been talking about that one a lot lately, and I've been quoting it a lot to myself because when I'm tempted to be angry, I use that verse. What I want to say again, just to remind us all, is that this is not magic words.
No.
The Word of God is not like a Harry Potter spell. If I say it like this, if I quote it just right, that it has a certain power to it. It has power to it because it's true.
Yeah.
And so when I say the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God, what I'm reminding myself is of the truth.
Yep.
And what I'm being reminded of is I want the righteousness of God. And I want that more than I want to be right. Yep. And I want that more than I want to have my way. So one of the things I was telling him the other night, I was saying, Elliot, like what I'm realizing and why I am counting it all joy when I'm entering into trials of various kinds, real small trials, like this is annoying to me right now, or I'm having to be patient here and I don't want to. As I'm saying to the Lord, to myself and to the Lord, I want your righteousness to be formed in me. And me getting my way right now isn't going to produce that. So this difficulty is actually a really great opportunity for your character to be formed in me. The anger of man doesn't produce that. Me lashing out because I'm not getting my way isn't going to get me there.
Yeah.
So I'm both shedding the negative, the sin that I hate, which is anger and pride and selfishness, and I'm reaching for the thing that I want, which is the righteousness of God. But that's all happening because it's Psalm 1, and on his law he meditates day and night, and he will be like a tree. So you have to put in you a new word so that word can come out of your mouth. So you have a new thing to say.
Yep.
And so, there's this like listening and speaking thing. So listen to Seth's message and my message because we're hitting two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it comes down to, what you said is so powerful, because I've wondered, when you're faced with those temptations, whether you say something or not, you're talking to yourself. When you face a temptation, a lot of times you're talking to yourself in a permissive way. This really isn't that big of a deal. Nobody's going to know. This really doesn't hurt anybody. And so we speak words to, even if it's
in their lies.
In their lies. And those lies are turning you in a permissive direction to do something that's destructive. But if you step up to it and just confess in agreement with God, this is sin. This is deadly. This is not good. This doesn't honor God.
Well, you're exactly right. So I'm thinking of, and I've told this story before, but I'll go back a couple of weeks ago. We were headed out to Riverside to go on an evening walk after a Sunday. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think it was the weekend that I was preaching about anger. And we were going to Riverside to take the dogs for a walk, and everybody but Elliot was going to go because Elliot wasn't in town. And it was just this chaotic thing. This is our family. And you have
a large family like me, so
it's just pure chaos. And I'm tired. It's been a long day. The 49ers, I think, had just won, but it was a tense win, and I'm a little on edge. And so it's just I'm frustrated at the way all of this is happening. And so the pattern of my mind wants to go down this road of, basically, I don't know how I'd put it, but I'm kind of like building my case in my mind or my justifications for why what's happening is wrong, why you did this, and you come on, get your act together, and all of this. And if I let myself go down that road, those words that are starting in my mind are eventually going to work their way out of my mouth. They happen every time. So I had to cut that off, head that off at the pass. The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. So instead of giving myself the leeway, and you know how this works in arguments with your spouse or whatever, is that there's all these words that start going through your mind. Well, they did this, or they never tell me that they love me, or she's never, like this. I did this. You're having all these thoughts that are formed in words, like a conversation with yourself. And those words eventually, are gonna come out of your mouth. So the way you kind of head that off and get control of this thing is to put a new word in your mouth, which might be, may the words of my lips and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you. Or Psalm 86:11, unite my heart to fear your name. These are verses that I've been meditating on lately because they speak a certain thing to me in certain situations. That's what I was helping my son with. It's like, you need to find a verse that you can meditate on and run that thing through your mind and mouth a million times. And when you enter into whatever temptation it is, you have that thing ready to go. And it's not magic words. It's recalibrating your heart and mind to what is true.
Yep. It's bringing yourself to the attention of what's really going on here and the truth. That's powerful. And I think, to the analogy James uses of the horse, there's a part of us when that word is put in us, we resist it. We pull against it. A horse that's not broken, they're gonna pull on that. And so there's that. Paul would call it the internal war of the flesh and the spirit.
So my dad's preaching this next weekend, but now I'm finding myself, and I'm glad to have the weeks off. But I'm fine. But I'm like, man, because you know where he's going to go next. Wisdom from above. Wisdom from above. Ecclesiastes 5:2. I don't have it in front of me, but it basically says something like, be careful what you say, because God is in heaven and you're on earth. So let your words be few, something like that. Lindsay, can you pull it up? You got it?
Yeah, do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few.
Wow,
So I'm thinking about that, the wisdom from above.
Yep. Well,
This idea, that's what James is about to talk about. You need wisdom from a certain perspective, and that's above.
yes.
Someone that sees a lot more than you do. And I wonder how many of us, and this is in our sin, this is always our sin. Our sinful words are words with limited, or let's even go further, warped, perverted perspective.
Yeah.
It's this, woe is me, I'm the victim, I'm right, you're wrong,
Yes.
I'm justified, you're a bad guy, all of this, that we have these warped, sinful perspectives, and our mouth then speaks in accordance with that lie that we've believed.
Yep.
And what Solomon is writing here in Ecclesiastes is like, hold up a second, you're down here,
Yeah.
God's up here, so shut up.
Yeah.
You don't see it all.
And I think that's really James's, it's subtle, but I still think that's James's primary point. Who's in charge of your life?
Yeah.
Because yes, that bit controls the horse, but there's someone controlling the bit.
Yeah.
There's a rudder that controls the ship, but there is a captain who has a will, who's wanting to go a particular direction.
Well, if we're going to back that up, so let's keep going down that road, because I like what you're saying. So let's back that up. Hear and do. So there's this
yes.
agency that I think James is. So who's the captain? Well, temptation could be it's the Lord. Yes, but also it's you.
Yeah.
Because he's given you that dominion. If we go all the way back to Genesis.
And that's where it's that daily
2,
deny, surrender, submit. Yeah.
I'm hearing. So Jesus, I only do what the Father tells me to do.
Yeah, words.
So but also hear, do. And there's an agency in that. He's responsible for that middle bit. God's the one, the Father gives the commands. Christ hears and does.
Yep.
And you're in the same boat. It's like, I've got my orders.
Yeah.
I've got my directions. Will I listen and obey, or will I go my own way?
Will I do my own thing?
Yeah, that's it. So I think what's coming to my mind and heart is what a great, honestly, I would have loved to have had thought about this or incorporated some of this into my sermon, but I didn't have the time for it. But it's so good. It's this idea of you really do. So your words are so primary, but you're going to need a new word.
Yeah.
You're going to need a new word to speak.
Yeah, that comes from a different perspective, and I love what you were hitting on. I pray this often when I pray the Lord's Prayer. I'm reminded of this, that my Father who art in heaven. And that phrase always is key for me, that you have a perspective I don't have. You see what I don't see. I think there's this analogy that I use. I like to hunt. And so when you go hunt in the mountains, sometimes there's an animal on the other side. And when you can see it, but once you drop off the mountain into the valley, everything looks different.
Yeah.
So it's very disorienting.
Wow.
But what people will do is they'll hunt and partner a team to where one person stays up on the mountain.
So somebody stays there and they're guiding
and
you.
they're guiding. You'll have comms or use hand signals, and they can see where you've come from. They can see where you are and the dangers that are around you, and they can see how to navigate you. And you have to trust that voice, because they see what you don't see. And I think that's just a beautiful representation of our relationship with God. He sees the world in a way we don't see it. He sees our life in a way we don't see it. And
That's
he's
a great picture.
through his Spirit navigating us. And
that's it. And some of the things he's going to ask you to do will feel counterintuitive. But what he's saying is so like that person. I love this analogy. So you've got somebody who can see what you can't see. And essentially what they're, hey, if you go this way, you're going to run into.
And it's totally against, I know I need to go here, but you're telling me to go here.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is a massive ditch or
huge
hazard.
rock face that you're not going to be able to climb up. Yeah.
Like, just trust me. Go this way. Yeah.
So good. So good. So number one, words being more primary than you think they are. They matter, and you have this point of this word that you're taking in. I want to talk about this for just a second because I think I wanted to get to this. I think this is really practical. I think this then is the point where you could, to all of our listeners, this is a good point to take inventory of what you're listening to.
Doggone right. Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to stop and pause and go, what gets the most of my attention? What voices? Is it music, and what music? I listen to music. I don't listen to all Christian music. In fact, the vast majority of what I listen to wouldn't qualify as Christian music. But I want to be thoughtful about how much of whatever it is that I'm taking in from an entertainment perspective, how much of what I'm seeing. Your kids, if you're a parent, you want to be thoughtful about how much of what if you're a young person, you really need to be thoughtful about what you're listening to. And we're gonna have, this isn't really meant to be we're going to sit down and talk about you shouldn't be listening to that because it has that word in it or, whatever. No. But it's something to be aware of and to be thinking about. How much of that you're listening to is shaping your imaginations about sex, about relationships, about money, about just about the nature of life. It is shaping you. Yeah. And I think that's so if you go back to Psalm 1, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. Yep. So we're starting with this counsel, what is it? The counsel. It's a way, like, here's how things are. Here's what you should do. Here's how you navigate life. Yeah. All of this, like a counsel, someone telling me their perspective. And that's like the wicked. There's a wicked counsel all around us. Yeah. Regarding every aspect of life. And I'm wondering how many of us that's the starting point of our problem, is we're walking in the counsel of the wicked. Therefore, when it comes to responding to different situations that we encounter in God's way, we're responding the wrong way because we're shaped by a wrong counsel. Yep. So what 100%. We need is to meditate. Let's see. I can only say it in order. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, stands in the way of sinners, sits in the seat of scoffer. But his delight, there it is. Yeah. It's in the law of the Lord. Yeah. The commands of the Lord, which reveal his nature. The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. His delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. When I wake up at night, I want to be saying these things to myself. May the words of my lips and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you. I have crazy dreams sometimes. Lord, even in my dreams, which I have no control over what I'm dreaming, and wild thoughts go through my head, may the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you. Like, just constantly, it starts to shape you, forms you. And then what you find is when you come to that crossroads of what am I going to do, you have now the resources for a different response to show up. Yeah. Man, this is like really helpful stuff, honestly, because it's like the breakdown of how you do this stuff.
It is, and I think even in the New Testament, maybe not a can we want to open, but James and the apostles would say, not just a separation of what you listen to secularly and Christian, be careful what you listen to in the church. There's false prophets out there.
Oh, yeah, they definitely get into
that. We have an individual responsibility as mature believers to test every word. Yeah. And I think any communicator of the gospel that doesn't invite testing.
Be careful that don't. What does he say? Not many of you
should be teachers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to be held. I fear for some pastors that are leveraging the pulpit in an ungodly way. Yeah. Because they're going to have a conversation with God one of these days.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a fearful thing to break open the Word of God and to say these things. There ought to be a level of sobriety and seriousness that goes along with all of that. Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Okay, my second point, I'm curious where yours went, but my second point was where you started, which is words are more powerful. I went there, same thing. Your words are more powerful than you think they are. And the angle that I took was this idea that what James is getting at is that your words have a power. So the first thing he likens them to is a fire. A small spark sets ablaze a big forest. The way I described this was like fireplace season is kind of coming up here. It says we're still not there yet, but we're getting there.
So close.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
Like it gets a little cooler, and I'll be able to put a fire on in my fireplace. I was one of the things when we built our house. I want an actual wood burning fireplace. I don't want a gas fireplace or gas logs, that kind of thing. I want to be able to put real wood in there. And I love this. I love fire in the fireplace. I was like, how many of you know fire in the fireplace? Good. Fire in your living room? Bad. It's interesting. We even call it the fireplace. Stay in your place. I don't want the fire out of its place.
No.
Because we recognize that fire has a power, a very destructive potential that left to itself, it just continually consumes. And it will consume everything in its path until it's stopped. So it has to be regulated. It has to be guarded. It has to be watched. I think this is James' whole point. That's how your tongue is. He then turns around and describes it as a beast or a wild beast. He says, so mankind, we've been able to tame all of these different kind of beasts, but guess what? No man can tame the tongue. No one among humankind can tame the tongue. Now, maybe there's a couple different ways we could talk about that. Apart from the Spirit of God, you can't tame your tongue. Yes, I think that's true. But I also think what James is saying is that your tongue is an animal that cannot be domesticated. It's like a wild animal. I was talking this weekend about, I don't know if you ever watched, do you ever see these documentaries of people that like have wild animals in their home, like tigers, lions? I'm always like, these people have a mental illness.
They have an issue
every single time. Like, this person's crazy.
I have never thought, hey, this is a good idea. When I was a kid, we tried to domesticate a wild animal. My dad caught a wild hog, a little piglet, out and brought it home. And I was 7, 8 years old. Put it in a cage, and my job, feed the animals.
Yeah.
And so I'm going out to feed this thing, and 6, 7 months, it's grown pretty big.
Yeah.
And it's getting after me a little bit, and I'm going.
Does it have tusks?
It's just growing tusks.
I mean, those things are dangerous. They can cut you up.
And I'm telling Dad, like, hey, this thing is mean. And he's like, whatever, just go in there and feed the. And so my dad, this is beautiful. He's like, well, I'll teach it a lesson. And he grabs a 2-foot piece of 2-inch steel pipe, and we go out to the thing. And sure enough, as he steps in the cage, that thing charges him. And my dad just whacks this thing across the snout. And that hog just rolled around and clamped down on that pipe. And Dad was like, okay, your cage. You cannot, break a wild animal like that. No matter what you do. Maybe there's a secret lion tamer out there that could do it. But
you can't turn your back on this thing.
No.
And that's the idea. Like these,
it's coming for you.
It's not domesticatable, if that's a word. You can't domesticate this thing. There's never going to come a point in your life, and I think this is what James is saying. You'll never be able to turn your back on your tongue.
Yeah.
Your words will never be this thing that you can just kind of, let your guard down.
Be careless with.
Be careless with that. I think what he's saying, a world of unrighteousness. There's so many different ways and potential opportunities for sin with your mouth.
Yeah.
That you will never be able to just let your guard down and speak whatever you want.
Absolutely.
So therefore, you're going to have to really be thoughtful about this. And the two examples that he gives are of a wild animal and a fire. So you're talking about these, and it's interesting. The beast that he's talking about being tamed, I think this is fascinating, that brought under subjection, these things can have, there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about, the world now, we use machines to build things, but in previous generations, it was animals we had to use. They have a strength that we don't have. They're greater than we are.
Yep.
Brought under some kind of control, they can have real value.
Yeah.
Fire, same way, but left out without being managed, looked after, or whatever. There's a lot of danger that can happen here, and I think same thing is true with your tongue. And so one of I think the main emphasis that James is giving here is your tongue does a lot more damage than you realize if you're not. The whole idea of a whole forest being set ablaze. I watched this I don't know if you saw this documentary. What's it called? Like Unknown Number or something like this on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I walked in and my wife was watching it, and I was just like, this is horrific.
It is horrific.
Terrible.
It's horrific. It blew me away that the
broken people.
The amount of impact one person could have with a phone, using an app, sending out just text messages to people from an anonymous number, the way it broke down an entire community. This whole town is at odds with each other because one person is sending texts. It's horrific. And if you watch it, just know it's R-rated for a reason, that the stuff that gets said is vile, disgusting, awful things. But to me, it was such a lesson in what James is talking about. A single spark can set a blazing hell, J.B. Phillips puts it, like within a community because of the power of the tongue. And so, Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. I think it's Proverbs 12, is it 12:18, something like that? Yeah, 12:18. Rash words are like sword. There's one whose rash words are like sword thrusts. But I think it's the lips of the wise bring healing. And I read this quote from Ray Ortlund where he was it really stood out to me. It convicted me. Because this has been me. He said, your quick words, your cutting remarks, they're easy to say, but it's not easy for the person who hears them to get over what you've said. And man, like that has been the case. Even recently, I said some stuff to Heather in a middle of a fight a while back that are just some words that I really regret, because I've seen I've asked for her forgiveness and she said, I forgive you, but the pain.
But the wound is still,
it's still there.
I've seen that look on my wife's face when it's like I've crossed that line, and I can tell when I've done damage. And it takes a while to unwind that, to heal. I mean, wounds created, it's a process of healing. And it's, we don't understand.
One of the things I thought of this weekend, and I think I said it in most every service, I have to guess that most people listening to this, we have somewhere in our hearts words that somebody said to us about us. You can still hear the tone of voice, the wound. Is like, even if there's been forgiveness and some measure of restoration, you still, when recalling those words, there's still that wound
emotion
hurts. You still have
it.
that scar that you can go, that's where they damaged me. And this, such is the power of words. And I think so often what we want to do is disconnect our motives and intentions. Those of us who are speaking these words, these hurting words, we want to disconnect and say, well, I didn't mean that, right?
Well,
I don't feel that way.
The unknown number, the whole person. I love
I couldn't
them.
believe this.
That's why I'm doing this, is because I love them. I'm like, you are a deceived, broken,
disgusting person. Yes.
That needs a lot of help. And needs repentance. And needs Jesus.
But we do similar things. We say these things, and then we want to minimize. We want to minimize our role in it by telling ourselves and the other person, well, I'm sorry, I didn't actually mean it like that. I didn't really mean it. But we're going to get to in a minute that, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. While it might be easy for you to disconnect your intentions, it's not easy for that person to get past what's being said. One of the things I said this weekend that I want to emphasize here is just, if you're a Christian, you don't get the right to to say things like, well, that's just how I was raised. That's just how we talked in my family. Well, I'm from the East Coast, and that's just how people talk on the East Coast. We're just more direct. Oh, well, I just have no filter. Stop saying those things. Those are just weak excuses to try to minimize the hurtful words that you say.
Yeah.
You are part of the new family of Jesus. You belong to a different kingdom. You have a different king. It's funny, I said all that this weekend, and I think only in one of the services, because I said it with some force. And normally when I say stuff like that, there's applause, and I don't like fish for applause.
Sure.
But it kind of felt like one of those moments where there would be applause and it would just silence.
Because you can,
you can feel like that's...
Well, you're removing people's excuses.
Like, stop with this.
This is just how I am. This is just the way our family...
And sometimes we take pride in it. I had a friend who texted me after one of the services. He goes, honestly, I've taken pride in the fact that I just tell it like it is. I'm direct.
Yeah.
But hold up a second. Yeah. Does your speech reflect what the scriptures... Their prescription for the scripture's prescription for how we should speak to one another. Because it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your family was like. It doesn't matter if you got no filter or not. You now belong to the Lord.
And we represent God.
Yes.
And so a question I'll often ask is, do people know God loves them by the way that you talk to them?
Wow.
I'm like, because there's a lot of situations in my life where I would say, I don't think I communicated God's love. And God's love is not always just soft. And God disciplines us.
Sometimes there's direct.
He loves us, and so he's going to be honest with us. But it's always clothed in love, and I want what's best for you.
So let's talk about that for a second. We're not saying bury all of your feelings.
No.
Never have a direct conversation with somebody. We're not saying never sit down and say, this hurt me, or I need to say something to you. There are times for that, right?
Well, James tells the church, be slow to speak. He didn't say don't speak.
Exactly.
No, because we have something to say. And what we say is so important and so filled with life that the reason we need to slow down is that our humanity doesn't get in the way of God's message.
One of the things I said, I think in one of the services, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, slow to speak, slow to post, slow to comment.
Yes.
How many of us, we're using our words inappropriately online? Maybe they're not coming out spoken in a wrong way, but we're typing them in a wrong way. Or the words we're typing are wrong. And here's the thing. Somebody say, okay, but what about the free exchange of ideas? I'm for all of that. Yes, I'm for all of that. And occasionally, maybe, very carefully, I might wade into a public forum or some online forum, but generally not. And I'll tell you why. Because anonymous debates don't really produce anything. They tend to almost always, and this is true if you look at the comment section on a newspaper article or a YouTube video or what there's not usually, I almost never see healthy, respectful discussion. It devolves immediately to condescending speech, where essentially we're trying to put another person in their place. And it doesn't result in anybody actually changing their mind. One of the questions I asked the congregation this weekend is that, have you ever, in your online, discussions or arguments with people, has anybody ever turned to you and said, oh, you're right, I'm wrong. You've convinced me, I now see the light. No one does that.
No.
Because lobbing grenades across whatever chasm that divides us doesn't bring people together. And what's lacking in all of that key idea is relationship. And I see things online that I disagree with. I see even friends. Here's another one. Friends I have on Instagram or wherever posting stuff. I'm like, that's stupid, or that doesn't. I could punch a million holes in that. I don't do it.
Right.
Even though I have some relationship with them, I don't send them a direct message to say, hey, this is that's not even biblical or what. Because here's what I think is how close am I to this person? Is this the format that I want to use to have that kind of direct conversation with somebody? And so it's just not worth, am I in close relationship? If I'm in close relationship with someone, then I could sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with them. But this person that lives at a distance from me, that's just posting something they believe in or some video they've seen that they happen to agree with, and I don't even know what's motivating it, and me coming back at them about it isn't going to, what's that going to produce?
Yeah.
What's in that? I am not like the thought police for the whole of my, everybody that I know to go around and correct all of their wrong thinking. Does it drive me crazy? Absolutely, but it doesn't produce anything. So me being slow to speak looks like me speaking a lot less.
Yes.
And one of the things I said is, I think how much sin, how much of strife, how much tension, how much hatred, how much even eventual violence could be avoided in our culture if we just spoke less.
Yeah. Well, that's the Proverbs, that's abundance of words. Sin is inevitable.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to happen.
I think the Holy Spirit's word to some of you this weekend is just 2 words.
Yeah.
Speak less.
Yeah. And be more thoughtful.
Yeah.
And be more Christ-like in your speech, because those words that come from because it's so easy to be so bold and so aggressive online.
Yes.
I see people that say things online, and then I watch them face to face.
Yeah.
And they have a different demeanor.
It's so true.
It's like,
it's so true. They come off as harsh, snarky, catty online, and then you're like, you get with them personally, like you're actually a pretty great person. We may see things differently, but you seem so nice and kind.
Yeah. Or they'll do like some YouTube reaction video and they're talking about someone and they're so aggressive and so opinionated. And then you see those 2 people face to face and they're so kind and so gracious. I'm like, wait a minute, you were just, saying all of this.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Yeah.
Do it face to face. Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
Last point. This whole idea that James gets into of you bless God with your mouth, and with that same mouth you curse people that are made in his image. And this really is his final point. He's going to go to this sort of duality.
Yeah.
It's out of the same mouth are coming blessing and cursing. Can a spring produce fresh water and salt water? Can a fig tree produce grapes? Like it can't. And so it's this idea of what's in you is coming out of you. So the last point I made was your words reveal more than you think.
Yeah.
How did you address like this idea of words out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks that James seems
It's
to be
where I
getting at?
started to kind of turn into source creates substance.
Okay.
So the source of whatever is producing this is producing the reality of it's that what it was trying to find a different way to say what's in you is coming out of you.
Yeah.
And then pointing back to the source of leading your life. Are you the source and leading your life, or is God the source and leading your life?
Gotcha.
And so I don't know that I tackled that one well. From this duality is sometimes when that old self kind of grabs the reins or grabs the rudder and kind of.
Oh, I'm curious. What do you think about that? So if you're thinking like, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, and man, I just said something awful to my wife, or to a friend maybe, or a child even. So we say all kinds of things. Is that the real me? What am I to make of that, Seth? How would you answer
I would say
that?
yes, that is part of still the real you that is in process of change and transformation.
Okay.
It's that we've been saved, we are being saved.
Yeah.
And we will be
So
saved.
flesh, spirit, how would you delineate?
I would say I'm
Is that flesh
convinced more
talking?
and more that I read, like Paul has read a lot of James and is probably fleshing out a lot of things that he's building on James's letter. And so I would go to Galatians 5 and say there's this internal war of flesh and spirit.
Yes.
And there are times to where in our humanity we let the flesh win and we let our hurt and our wounds win in those moments, and we speak out of those areas of our life, and it's just revealing there's still work for Christ to do in me.
I think the way I've thought about this, I think is helpful, is strongest versus deepest desires.
Oh, I think it's so helpful.
Sometimes your strongest desire isn't necessarily your deepest desire. My deepest desire, if I'm born again, is to please God. But sometimes my strongest desire, because of maybe I've been walking in the flesh, therefore, it's the reverse of what James says, walk in the Spirit, you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. I'm fulfilling the lust of the flesh because I'm walking in the flesh. So spirit weak,
in my flesh, strong. I would say like even you're walking still in what those words that they spoke to you damaged you. You're still walking in that hurt. You're still walking in that imperfection.
Or there's a selfishness, or a pride, or desire, a rage to have your own way. and that is manifesting itself in words, complaining words, harsh words, so forth. All of this. The way I look at it is your words reveal something that you've allowed inside.
Yep.
And I think what James is calling out here is, look, if you've got salt water and fresh water coming out of your mouth, so to speak, that's a heart check. Hold up. Yep. I've let something, like, let your words be a diagnostic tool to say, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
What's going on in me?
Yeah.
And then to bring that before the Lord and to let...
Like, don't excuse it away.
Yeah,
oh, that was just... Yeah, I'm sorry. There's something in... Yeah.
And the way I look at it is it's a division of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's talking about here is, to me, what he's been talking about from the very beginning, when he talks about a double-minded man, Mr. Facing two ways. It's the attempt to hold on to two things at the same time. A couple of weeks ago, I described him as Tarzan, swinging through the jungle, vine to vine to vine to vine. But if he doesn't let go of the old vine and tries to take hold of the new, all of his momentum is going to be stopped. He's just going to be hung, stuck between two directions. And that's how he describes the one who doubts. But it's also how he describes the one who tries to take part of the law and ignore, or most or all of the law, but ignoring even just the one command. It's like, you can't divide this law. You cannot, because to break one part of it is to break the whole, because God is indivisible. God is one. You can't divide him up, because the law reflects his nature, his character. He seems to be going back to this same idea here of when you allow out of your mouth blessing and cursing, you are you're living a fractured, divided life. It is and what needs to happen is you need to have a united heart, or a single devotion. I think the Jesus talks about this. There's translations of and I don't have the passage in front of me, and so I'm not going to go into it in depth. But this idea of having a single eye. Some people have said, like, Jesus went way east when he was in this kind of silent period, and he learned from anyways, and which is a bunch of rubbish. The single eye, like Eastern religion. No, what he's talking about is devotion. Like
single focus.
Single focus. Like not being divided. And imagine trying to look at two things at the same time. Can't do it. Yeah, so you're looking at one thing. This is where I was talking about Psalm 86:11. Unite my heart to fear your name. Part of what's happening when I'm blessing and cursing at the same time is I have a divided heart, and I don't even realize it. I'm attempting to live this Christian life with a divided allegiance, where I'm both harboring self-centeredness, selfishness, pride, and worship of God as Lord and Creator at the same time. It doesn't work. What are you doing? Why would you do that? James would say. You can't do this. Stop with this trying to face two directions business. And I think that's what he's saying here. So you have this opportunity here when you're seeing these, when these words are coming out of you this way, it's hold up, I need to stop for a second. And ask myself, what have I allowed in here that is attempting to divide my allegiance from the one that I should be truly devoted to? And for me, that's where all of these issues come back to ultimately an idolatry issue. It's, am I really loving the Lord? The Lord is one. Don't try to divide him. Love the Lord your God. How should I love him? With all. With all. Undivided. With not just this aspect over here, this part, with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And what will that produce? Love your neighbor as yourself. These two things go hand in hand. When I'm speaking to my wife, when I'm speaking to my coworkers, when I'm speaking to that employee, when I'm speaking to that contractor, and I'm speaking, I'm tearing down. I'm using my words to destroy. When I'm gossiping, I'm engaging in gossip or sarcastic, snarky responses. When I'm using my mouth to sin, I am not loving my neighbor as myself, and I'm allowing out of me a different kind of. I'm allowing something to take hold in me. Let's put it that way. That has no business being in the deepest part of me. A division of loyalties.
Yep.
And that can have no good end. You can't serve two masters,
Nope.
Jesus said.
You're
You'll
gonna
love the one and hate the other. And if you're trying to hold these two things at the same time, it just is. It's going to come to ruin for you. It won't work.
Yeah, you will become a person that just inevitably tears people down and destroys people, because that thing of what's in you will come out of you if you don't continually surrender that to God and allow Him to transform you. Surrender, that daily discipline of denying yourself. You're just going to have a destructive, because words, they build and they tear down. And you look over and over and over again in the New Testament, and they're pointing to our words should be building and encouraging people.
Yes.
1 Corinthians 14, Paul says the prophetic word of the church, the spirit-filled church of the word, should build and edify. It should strengthen. It should encourage. There's times of correction in that.
Sure.
But then he would go on and say, but our words also tear down, but they tear down strongholds. They tear down.
Yeah, that's good.
Those
what
those
are they
demonic
tearing down?
things.
Yeah, lies.
Yes, lies. And
really
so
good.
there is, for those of us that have been damaged by words and live kind of in that duality of like, man, I really want to reflect God, but I'm really still wounded. There is that greater word that speaks healing and tears down those lies and tears down those things that have crippled you. And there is a freedom on the other side of that, just receiving and believing and living in the truth of what God said about you and who you are.
So good.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on today,
Oh, man.
Seth. This is
Thank
so
you.
good. We'll do it again soon.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege.